Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome to General Hospital latest episode **. Port Charles has endured disasters before, but nothing quite like the emotional and psychological storm that swept through town during the week of February 2nd to 6th. As snow-buried streets and power outages plunged familiar places into darkness, long-buried truths surfaced, dangerous alliances were exposed, and relationships crossed lines that can never fully be erased. This was not just a week of survival against the elements, it was a reckoning. At the center of the chaos stood Lulu Spencer, caught between duty, fear, and feelings she never intended to admit. The storm forced her into close quarters with Nathan, and what began as concern quickly evolved into something far more complicated. Trapped together with no distractions and no escape, the two passed time playing games meant to keep their minds occupied. But the past has a way of slipping through cracks. Nathan revealed more than he meant to, exposing pieces of his history that hinted at unresolved guilt and unfinished emotional business. By the time the snow eased, the truth between them could no longer be denied. They shared a kiss, then another, before reality crashed back in. Love was not enough to outweigh loyalty. With Maxie and Dante's lives hanging in the balance emotionally, Lulu and Nathan made the painful decision to step back, choosing responsibility over desire. It was a choice that left neither of them unscathed. Elsewhere in Port Charles, the younger generation found themselves making equally complicated decisions. Danny and Charlotte, drawn together by confusion and comfort during the storm, crossed a line that raised more than a few eyebrows. Despite being second cousins, the two shared a kiss that neither had planned, but neither could immediately regret. Their journey through the snow only deepened their bond. Unable to reach their destination, they took refuge in Michael's old house, where an innocent moment making s'mores turned into something emotionally charged. The interruption by Rocco brought reality rushing back. But the damage, or perhaps the connection, had already been made. Charlotte's storyline took an even darker turn when she overheard a conversation that was never meant for her ears. At the Metro Court, she accidentally learned about a secret deal involving Brennan and Nina. The shock sent her running, frightened and unsure of whom she could trust. Desperate, she turned to Danny, asking him to help her reach Carly's home so she could see her father. Meanwhile, Valentine searched frantically for his daughter, but the storm kept him trapped. Carly, hiding her own secrets, reassured him that Charlotte was safe, even as events unfolded beyond anyone's control. While emotions flared, danger quietly advanced. Britt Westburn found herself at the center of a web, far more threatening than romantic heartbreak. Her ties to Sidwell, Cullum, and the shadowy organization known as the Five Feeling finally came into the open. Though she initially made a dramatic attempt to push Jason away by creating a public scene at the hospital, it soon became clear she was trying to protect him. Ordered to the Windermere lab by Marco, Britt was caught in an increasingly dangerous game. Lucas walking in on Britt and Marco only raised suspicion, forcing Britt to spin a convincing lie to keep her cover intact. Sidwell's lab itself became a ticking time bomb. Britt informed him that the facility lacked proper safety precautions, buying herself time while tensions simmered. Trapped together by the storm, Sidwell, Ava, Lucas, and Marco waited out the night, unaware of how close rescue and exposure truly were. Jason, refusing to abandon Britt, took matters into his own hands. With critical information from Brick on how to shut down power to Spoon Island, a risky plan was set into motion. Jocelyn proved herself braver and more resourceful than anyone expected. After discovering Cullum's copy of the Crystalline Conspiracy and overhearing Brennan admit he was only dating Carly to gather information, Joss realized the stakes were far higher than she imagined. Ordered by Brennan to maintain a low profile, she instead chose action. Battling the snowstorm, Joss made her way to Windermere and cut the power, plunging Sidwell's operation into darkness and chaos. She later relayed everything she learned to Brick, unknowingly pulling him deeper into a past he had hoped to keep buried. Brick's reappearance across multiple storylines revealed surprising connections. His encounter with Jordan took a personal turn when she informed him she was now dating Curtis. But the real shock came when Brick crossed paths with Brennan and Carly, revealing that he and Brennan shared a history in Los Angeles. That past connection explained far too much about Brennan's confidence and reach, suggesting his manipulation of Port Charles was no accident. Carly herself spent the storm, walking a dangerous emotional tightrope. While she kept Valentine distracted and calm, she unknowingly became a pawn in Brennan's larger strategy. Her growing bond with Valentine felt genuine, until Brennan appeared unexpectedly, casting doubt on every interaction and motive. The realization that Brennan had been using her threatened to unravel Carly's trust once again. Across town, Tracy Quartermain pursued a mission driven by pride and legacy. Determined to reclaim her family heirlooms, she enlisted Gio and Emma in a carefully planned break, but the storm ruined more than roads. When Tracy finally reached Drew's house, she was stunned to find Martin there, calmly stopping her in her tracks. Instead of conflict, the two found themselves bonding, discovering unexpected common ground while trapped together. Meanwhile, Gio and Emma, unable to reach the property, retreated home, where the storm forced them into their own quiet reckoning. Family tensions surfaced elsewhere as well. Portia made yet another attempt to reconnect with Trina, hoping the storm might soften old wounds. Instead, her efforts failed, leaving their relationship more fractured than ever. Emotional isolation proved just as dangerous as physical confinement. As the snow began to clear, truths could no longer be avoided. Jason finally rescued Britt, and in that moment of relief, she stopped running. She told him everything. About Cullum, about the Five feeling. The full scope of the threat came into focus, setting the stage for consequences that will ripple through Port Charles for weeks to come. Molly's storyline offered a rare moment of triumph amid the chaos. After discovering Christina had secretly sent her manuscript to a literary agent, Molly learned she was being offered a book deal. Confessing to Cody that she had written a new novel, she was unprepared for his reaction. As he read her work, Cody realized the so-called dumb Stablehand character was unmistakably based on him. The revelation added humor, tension, and vulnerability to a relationship still finding its footing. By week's end, Port Charles stood changed. Drew prepared to awaken to a reality altered in ways he could never have predicted. Lulu and Nathan faced the hardest truth of all, that love does not always grant permission to act. And with dangerous secrets now exposed, the calm after the storm felt anything but safe. As Port Charles slowly emerged from the grip of the storm, it became painfully clear that the damage left behind wasn't limited to fallen power lines or snow-covered streets. The real destruction had settled into hearts, relationships, and secrets that could no longer stay hidden. The storm may have passed, but its consequences were only beginning. Jason's rescue of Britt marked a turning point that neither of them could walk away from unchanged. Exhausted, shaken, and finally stripped of her defenses, Britt stopped pretending she could handle everything alone. For the first time, she allowed herself to trust Jason completely. In the quiet aftermath, she told him the whole truth. Not just fragments, not half confessions, but everything. Sidwell's operation, Cullum's involvement, the hidden agendas, and the shadowy reach of the Five feeling all came spilling out. Jason listened, realizing that Britt hadn't been pushing him away out of fear of commitment, but out of fear that staying close to her would get him killed. That truth hit harder than any argument ever could. Jason now faced a dangerous reality. Knowing the truth meant becoming part of it. The question was no longer whether Britt could survive this situation, but whether Port Charles itself was prepared for what was coming next. Sidwell was not a man who tolerated loose ends, and Britt had just made herself one. Meanwhile, Sidwell remained dangerously calm. Even after the power outage at Windermere, even after Britt delayed her work under the guise of safety concerns, his confidence never wavered. Waiting out the storm alongside Ava, Lucas, and Marco only reinforced how insulated he felt from consequences. Ava, ever observant, took mental notes. She knew when to play along and when to step back, understanding that Sidwell's patience was far more threatening than his anger. Lucas, unsettled by what he had walked in on earlier, couldn't shake the feeling that Britt was far deeper into something than she had admitted. Marco, on the other hand, followed orders without hesitation, proving yet again that loyalty to power often outweighs loyalty to people. Jocelyn's actions during the storm marked a quiet but powerful evolution in her character. No longer content to be on the sidelines, she took responsibility for information that could change everything. Discovering Cullum's copy of the Crystalline Conspiracy was not just a coincidence. It was confirmation that something far larger was unfolding beneath the surface. Hearing Brennan openly admit that his relationship with Carly was nothing more than a strategic move shattered any remaining illusion Joss had about him. Instead of panicking, she acted. Cutting the power to Windermere was a risk that could have ended badly, but it worked. It disrupted Sidwell's operation and bought Jason the time he needed to get Britt out. When Joss later told Brick everything she had learned, she unknowingly reopened doors from his past that he had tried to seal shut. Brick's history with Brennan in Los Angeles suddenly made far more sense. These were not men crossing paths by chance. Their connection hinted at old deals, unfinished business, and secrets that might soon come back to haunt them both. Brick's week was defined by uncomfortable reunions and personal revelations. Running into Jordan and learning she was now dating Curtis forced him to confront the reality that life had moved on without him. But seeing Brennan again was different. It wasn't nostalgia, it was recognition. The look they shared said everything. They knew each other's tactics, weaknesses, and histories, and that mutual knowledge made their renewed proximity extremely dangerous. Carly remained at the emotional center of multiple storms, both literal and figurative. While she worked to keep Valentine distracted and calm, she unknowingly walked straight into Brennan's web. Her growing connection with Valentine felt real, rooted in shared concern for Charlotte and mutual vulnerability during the storm. But the sudden appearance of Brennan shattered that fragile sense of safety. The realization that Brennan had been using her to gather information cut deeply, reigniting Carly's long-standing struggle with trust. Once again, she was forced to question whether any moment of comfort in her life could exist without manipulation lurking behind it. Valentine, desperate to find Charlotte but trapped by the weather, relied on Carly's reassurance that his daughter was safe. Though, true in the moment, Charlotte's emotional state was anything but. Frightened by what she overheard and unsure of whom to trust, Charlotte's decision to run placed her directly in harm's way. Turning to Danny was an act of desperation, not romance. Yet the line between comfort and connection blurred far too easily. Their time stranded together revealed how quickly young emotions can intensify under pressure. The kiss they shared at Michael's old house wasn't born from calculation, but from confusion and fear. Still, the reality of their family connection loomed large, making the moment impossible to ignore or excuse. Rocco's interruption served as a harsh reminder that innocence does not erase consequences. Lulu's storyline mirrored this theme of forbidden emotion and painful restraint. After being snowed in with Nathan, the truth between them could no longer be denied. Their shared games and conversations stripped away pretense, exposing feelings that had been simmering quietly for far too long. When they finally admitted how they felt, the relief was immediate. But so was the guilt. Loving each other meant hurting others, and neither Lulu nor Nathan could live with that. Choosing to step back was an act of maturity, but it left both of them emotionally bruised and unsatisfied. Knowing that some loves never truly disappear, they simply go unclaimed. Tracy Quartermain's pursuit of her family heirlooms may have seemed like a side story, but it carried its own emotional weight. Her confrontation with Martin at Drew's house turned into something unexpectedly intimate. Forced to wait out the storm together, the two shared stories, insights, and moments of understanding that softened Tracy in ways few people ever managed to do. The failed break-in became less about possessions and more about connection, reminding Tracy that legacy is not only measured in objects, but in relationships. Gio and Emma's inability to reach Drew's house led them back home, where the storm offered them something rare, uninterrupted time. Away from chaos, their bond deepened quietly, hinting at future developments that may prove just as impactful as the week's more explosive events. Portia's continued attempts to repair her relationship with Trina ended in disappointment. Despite her efforts, the emotional distance between them remained. The storm did not bring reconciliation, only clarity. Some wounds require more than proximity to heal, and Portia was left facing the painful reality that her daughter may not be ready or willing to let her back in. Molly's professional breakthrough stood in stark contrast to the emotional turmoil around her. Learning that her literary agent wanted to make a book deal was a validation she never expected, especially after discovering Christina had taken the initiative without her consent. Confiding in Cody about the novel was both exciting and terrifying. His realization that the dumb stablehand character was based on him brought humor to the moment, but also vulnerability. It forced Molly to confront how she sees the people in her life, and how art often reveals truths we don't intend to share. As the week closed, Port Charles stood at the edge of something bigger than any single storyline. Drew was set to wake up to a reality forever altered by events he never witnessed. Britt's secrets were no longer hers alone. Jason had crossed a line that would make him a target. Brennan's manipulations were exposed, but far from over. And Lulu and Nathan, though choosing restraint, were left carrying emotions that refused to fade quietly. The storm may have ended, but its echoes were only beginning to shape the future of Port Charles.